Yo, people, lateness is greatness. You already know what time it is. It's time for the Chelsea versus Leicester preview again. And this time I'm joined by Zac. My boy Zac works with Chelsea, works with Football Daily. A pleasure to have him back on. It's been a while, bro. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, mate. Recovered over the weekend's results. Yeah, not too bad. Thank you, mate. Yourself?
I'm good. You know what? Yeah, I feel like obviously this week for Chelsea has been a very sobering experience, right? I was very gassed this time last week. I was very excited with the result at the Etihad, and you know, I got a bit ahead of myself. Maybe this week's definitely humbled me some way. But I'm in a much better mood now. I've kind of not fully got over. I think I won't be over it until the 29th if we pick up the trophy there. But I think I'm definitely a lot more level-headed and calmer. And I thought this is a perfect time now to talk to you because that game is in the rearview mirror and there's no time to digest or really even reflect on it too much because now we have Leicester again tomorrow in revenge for the game that happened over the weekend. I mean, talk to me about your feelings going into the game because obviously it's very rare that you play a team back-to-back like this in the space of 2 days, especially in two massive fixtures as well. So how are your confidence levels?
Oh God, probably less confident than I was. I think that's probably fair to say. That's fair to say. Yeah, because the issue with the game on the weekend, like I didn't really think either team were that great. I didn't think Chelsea were good. I didn't really think Leicester were good. All that happened really was a wonder strike. That's what set the game apart realistically, and a millimetre of offside. And that is the difference. Oh my Lord! So I'm just reading the comments here. Apparently, Harry Kane has put a transfer request in, which is ridiculous.
Don't lie to me.
Apparently, according to I've just seen.
Don't lie to me.
Apparently, he has. Yeah. Oh
don't do this to me. Live chat. If you're lying to me, I swear I'll kick all of you.
No, he has.
I'll block all of you.
Oh
if
my
you're lying
God.
to me, I'll block all of you right now.
Sorry, that's unreal. Yeah, no, Sky Sports News have just said it.
Are you serious?
I tell you what, if there's one guy, if Chelsea could sign Harry Kane, honest to God, that would be the greatest signing in the club's history. Whether it would happen, I'm not sure, but that would be unreal. Harry Kane, I don't see Harry Kane. Harry Kane doesn't miss a chance. Bro, the longest.
That is obviously Haaland is a very high on my list as well. But in terms of winning right now, and there's no translation from league because I think Haaland would have to adapt and whatnot. He's still very young.
You still scored 20 goals.
If you can get Harry Kane, do you know what? Wow,
he'd be unreal. I
didn't think he would ever hand in a request like that.
The issue the big issue with Harry Kane, I guess, is how much he can hand in a request all he wants.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure his contract there is until 2023 at the earliest. So Spurs can just say, unless you're giving us 150 mil, we're not saying anything.
I had a whole plan for this to go. I'm trying to have to talk about that for a second. I mean, because obviously I'm quite shocked that he's handed in a transfer request because I didn't expect.
It's not in his character, is it?
Yeah, exactly. But now Tottenham, do they kind of owe him some loyalty in terms of what he's given to the club? He's been there for such a long time to sell him at this point because of that.
I mean, it depends. If it was any other, if it wasn't say Tottenham, a top six club, if it was say if it was like a Leicester or I don't know, someone that's not within the top six basically, or a rival of Chelsea's, I would say then that club may look at that and go, look, he's given us all of his best, kind of like we did with Hazard, right? Giving us all of his time, giving us all, everything for us, and now he's asking to leave. A club has come in with a good enough offer, like 100 million for Hazard, as I said, it'll probably be a lot more for Kane. Then sure, but the fact it's Spurs. Spurs basically can't let Harry Kane go to another English
Premier League team, yeah,
because that will just ruin them. That will mean even more so that they're especially a London club, which realistically is only Chelsea. Arsenal aren't going to be able to afford it. Realistically, United as well. They don't want him to go to United. And so if a club outside, I would not be surprised if Spurs accepted 100 mil from PSG or Real Madrid or whatever, and would only accept from a Premier League club 150. They'd give 50 mil tax just to have Harry Kane not in the same league as them.
But this is the thing. Obviously, the only downside to Harry Kane is that he's got an injury record. Apart from that, there is no downside. The way that he's played this season, he's elevated his game to a whole new level. The way that he creates chances, drops deep, and again can score goals as well. His finishing is the best in the league for me now. Now that Aguero is obviously on his way out as well. How would you? I don't even know how you value a player like that. He's kind of invaluable to he is the equivalent. He's the equivalent of getting Van Persie at Manchester United from Arsenal, and you're winning the league. That is the type of signing he is at this point.
He's a signing that if you're Chelsea, if you're City, if you're United, that guarantees you possibly first spot next season. As long as he's fit, obviously, because all of those teams are looking for a striker, and he's someone that would fit into that system perfectly. I just don't think Spurs will let it happen. He's contracted till 2024. I just searched, and unless it's a ridiculous amount of money, I just don't see it happening. It would be mental for Spurs to do that. It wouldn't make sense. It would be Bale all over again, and they'd have to spend that money so wisely to replace him. But that being said, it's fun to think about if he was to join another club. That's for sure.
I'm very excited, mainly because I just didn't expect him to even. I didn't expect him to do that. So now it kind of opens the playing field. I still think it's unlikely because the fact that Chelsea just don't ever do business with leaving. We tried to get Luka Modric from them, and that was just Modric wanted to come, and then we just could not get that done, and he ended up going there for a year later.
The only thing that may be in our favour is if Spurs need the money.
Yeah, because of the Super League. Maybe.
And also, they still have to pay for their stadium, which was over $1 billion. I think it was over $1 billion. I might be wrong on that. But if Spurs need the money, then maybe they'd be willing to listen to an offer from Chelsea. But even then, it's still going to have to be a lot of money. We're probably talking about the same prices it would cost you to get Haaland this summer as well.
Yeah, mad. Anyway, that I'm not gonna go on it for too long, people. But that is incredible breaking news there. I did not expect that to happen. Especially didn't expect it to happen live in our first not even 10 minutes of open show. And do you know what? It's one of those ones where, again, I think Chelsea will be at the bottom of the pecking order in terms of Levy wanting to sell. And I mean, he's handed in a transfer request. How loyal he is to Tottenham fans in making a move across London again. It's very unknown right now.
Much easier to move to Manchester than it is to move to another London
Exactly.
club.
We know Manchester City need a striker. Man United surely can't turn that down either. So I guess we kind of just have to see what happens. But yeah, if you're just joining the stream, Harry Kane has handed in a transfer request at Tottenham. And obviously Chelsea needed a striker, so that's why red flags certainly are. Flags are certainly popping off there. But back into our game, you spoke about obviously the confidence levels dropping after the defeat against Leicester in the final, and I agree with you. Leicester weren't at their brilliant best. Iheanacho, wasn't at his brilliant best. Vardy was kind of dealt with by Reece James for the most part in that first half, and then the second half, obviously they got their goal. And I think that's what made it even more disappointing from our perspective, is that they didn't have to even be anywhere near their best to beat us. It was just a long shot, and really from us in the second half, not pushing for the goal, not really having any ideas until the substitutions came on, and then changed the game a little bit, and Mason Mount had a shot and Chilwell's goal was offside as well. I think in terms of this fixture, I keep saying revenge and redemption. Obviously, Amati had that video clip that went online, and Leicester had to go and apologise for that as well. Do you think this squad mentally, because we look at this squad and it's something that's quite interesting now. It's quite a young team. Outside of a few players like Silva, Kante, is this part of the teething problems that we're just going to have to go through in terms of a young squad that's still developing and can't maybe get over that final hurdle in these big crunch games? Because they've had big games like Real Madrid, but now we're talking about finals, and the final record is not great.
I mean, realistically, the only way you can learn from it is by experiencing it. Yeah. Realistically, the only way you're going to know how it feels to lose a final, make sure you never want to be in that situation again, is by losing a final. What's even worse is losing two in 2 years. So I'm sure that will be on their minds. I mean, I read and watched the video of, I can't quite remember of the guy's podcast, but it's really, really good. Where he spoke to Mason Mount's dad, and he said his dad told him. On the morning, he told him, he told Mason to send a photo of the runners-up medal to the lad. So I actually think the mentality is there. I just think it was an off day. I think Tuchel maybe realised afterwards he got maybe a few things wrong. I would say as well, I didn't think Leicester, as I said, Leicester played well, but certain players for Leicester were brilliant. Fofana was unreal.
Fofana, I am taken aback, bro.
He's so good. And I thought it was because when Johnny Evans came off, I was like, wow, this is really bad for them. They're going to have to. It was the same back line as they had against Newcastle when Newcastle scored 4 goals.
Yeah.
But they've obviously been practicing. They've been very, very good. They're resolute and managed to defend us pretty well. And I think if you go back now, would Tuchel have started maybe Callum Hudson-Odoi the right wing back instead of Azpilicueta? Maybe he would have done that instead to help our attack. Would he have started Pulisic? Like, as much as I think, yes, mentally there's probably some issues. I think there was probably a massive learning curve, massive learning curve. And I'm sure if you said to Chelsea fans, of course you want to win both, but look, you either lose the FA Cup and you win the Champions League, or you win the FA Cup and you lose the Champions League. Most people would take it losing the FA Cup and winning the Champions League. So hopefully players will look at that and take that and be able to work from that, because there's still so much to play for. Like, that's the good thing as well about how the Premier League is at the moment. It's still in our hands. Like, we're not in the position of, say, Liverpool, who are having to pray for certain results to go their way so they can get into the top 4. It's in our hands to make sure that we still control our season, and we should do. In the game tomorrow, we should be winning it.
Yeah, Fofana was very impressive. He's only 20 years old, and he's looking like Team of the Year shouts, in my opinion, for the season that he's had to come in this season. Him and Diaz to come in this season and have their debut seasons at Man City and Leicester and perform the way they have has been incredible. And I think what happened in that FA Cup game was, again, it makes us even, like, obviously we was never going to the Champions League final favourites anyway, but it makes us now even more underdogs than we already were. And we know traditionally when Chelsea are underdogs, they actually tend to do better because there's no expectation and the world is against us, and we already know how. Yeah, for sure. But this is a different team now, so I'm trying. It's very difficult for me to separate traditional Chelsea winning heritage with Drogba and Lampard from the current team, because the current team are not of the same age as that winning team was. So the expectations have to drop naturally, just logically, but at the same time you're still trying to keep the standards of the club up as well. And I have a saying W settings only, so I can only go so far from that as well. Is there anything that you saw against Leicester in that performance that you're looking at in this home game that you'd want to change now and say to yourself, right, I want to see something different? Because they kind of worked us out to some degree. We know we struggle against low blocks. Arsenal was a great example the other week where we just could not break them down. Tammy didn't make the bench. That's caused a lot of debate as well. What do you make of all that?
I think Pulisic needs to start. I think he came on and he was really, really good finding space, dribbling into the box. Sometimes, for some reason, we lack that player when it's a low block who is willing to try and beat his man and get into a dangerous area. And I found when he came on, he was doing that more so. Chilwell needs to start as well. I know
so surprised he didn't.
Him. I understand it as well, though, because they are a kind of, they're good aerially and stuff like that, which is why he wanted to bring him on. And look, if Alonso scores a header, you'll go there and go, wow, that was amazing. And it's just sometimes how it works out in football. But as we said, Chilwell came on, you instantly saw that he made a difference. I think we just need to attack them more. I thought Ziyech had bright parts of his game where we were obviously attacking that left centre-back role and having Werner run down there consistently, especially in the first half. And it was working, but it never seemed to be, there was never enough people in the box or never enough people to try and relay the ball back onto and have a shot. And also I just think we need to test their keeper a bit more. Like we weren't shooting enough, or at least getting them on target. I think we had 3 shots in target, and 2 of them probably came within the last latter stages of the game. Like, we need to be testing them. Schmeichel obviously pulled off a ridiculous save against Mount, which essentially won them the FA Cup. It was fantastic. But we do need to test them a bit more. That's the one thing with, as great as it's been having Tuchel, I think, and he's fixed a lot of stuff. Especially maybe defensively, and brought the best out of certain other players. The one thing you may be able to say is that because of obviously having to focus a little bit more on the defence, maybe a bit more on the midfield, our attack has actually suffered a bit. But that's football. Like, you have to find You have to find
right
a balance. Nothing's going to be perfect here and perfect there. You've got to find the right balance to see how it works. And I think people can't be too critical at the same time. Like just before this, we'd beaten Real Madrid, we'd beaten Manchester City. And so that's the one thing that at the moment with the way Tuchel's football was played is that it is so there is by little margins and fine margins that if they swing against you, you lose 1-0. But if they swing for you, you win 2-0, 2-1 or something like that. Yeah. And so, we just need to maybe start Callum, maybe start Christian Pulisic and try and get some pace and attack them and really go for them.
Because it's a must-win game, isn't it? Now, like the thing is with this attack as well, that is there's so many points to it because people will say they want to see more of Giroud or Abraham for that focal point. So, when you're speaking about that moment where we don't have any numbers in the box, we create all of these opportunities out wide. There's nobody in the box. That's because mainly we've got a lot of fluid players who take up different positions and interchange, but there's no actual real focal point. Werner's more of a runner in behind. He's not really going to hold the ball up and things like that. But then on the flip side, people will say, well, Giroud isn't really world class, and Abraham's not world class as well. He's still developing. Giroud's coming towards the end of his career, and he's leaving at the end of the season, or potentially with his contract running out. So, is it worth sacrificing that focal point and then taking away from the team the fluidity and the movement? And that's how we create a lot of our chances. Because Tuchel's side has created a lot of chances since he came in. I think in the Premier League, I saw Sky Sports last weekend. I'm not sure if the stat is still correct now, but we had like the most chances created, the most shots on goal as well. But then the conversion rate was only 9%. And I know it's very easy for a lot of people to say, right, well, if you put a striker in there, then you're going to get more conversion. But will the chances created come down because of the lack of fluidity or chemistry in the team? So there's so much going on there where it's very difficult to really put your hat on which solution actually works, especially in a very short-term basis where we're just really trying to get to the end of the season and maximize on opportunities. If we had a striker like Harry Kane, you'd say, okay, screw I think his link-up play is brilliant anyway, and he's brilliant at that. But you would say it doesn't matter if we've got a focal point up front because look at the finishing from him. You can see the reward is better than the pros outweigh the cons.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's a tough one because, as I said, I think coming in as a manager halfway through the season when you're a little bit in turmoil isn't easy. And so everything that he's had to do so far has very much been within two days training, preparing you for that game. And so the quicker fix has been what he's done now, a three at the back and having Kante and Jorginho or Kante and Kovacic, whoever it is in midfield, high wing backs, maybe an attacking one, maybe Callum Hudson-Odoi if we're playing a team that's a bit more defensive. I'll be very, very interested to see what happens next season, whether we move to a four at the back and that means we have an extra attacking player. These are the things that we'll probably see a lot more next season. I think it's going to be very interesting once we've got a pre-season under our belts. And we can look at going forward from there because, as I said, you then instead of having one extra centre back, you have an extra attacker, which is going to help you with maybe getting more players in the box, being more clinical, allowing another player to start instead of a defender. But I do agree. I think if you take, we are creating a lot of chances. We have been unfortunate. Realistically, Havertz should finish against Leno in that one-on-one chance. Yeah.
And this is where the striker thing comes in because Havertz has been doing a really good job up there at times, but he's still not an out-and-out number 9. You can see he's kind of in between.
And I think people remember as well, strikers miss chances. Kane misses chances. The difference, though, is how many chances are they getting. Kane is sometimes creating for himself for 2 or 3 a game, whereas for Chelsea against Arsenal, it was that one chance. And you'd be surprised. Timo Werner scored so many goals at RB Leipzig, but he was getting a lot more chances there than he was than he is at the moment. And so I wouldn't be too surprised if maybe you did see an attacking player join. I also agree that I think maybe the management of Abraham isn't the best, but I also understand you can't have everyone on the bench. That's what it's like playing for Chelsea. Is we've got such a talented squad. I think realistically only City may have a deeper squad than us, and someone's going to have to miss out at times. But I do think there should have been games that he has played in. Yeah,
because people say there's 2 left backs on the bench, and why can't he get in there? I obviously the quotes that come out from Tuchel is very much so of I've got 18 men I can pick from, and I just don't have the space to put them in. And I can see, for me, because there's 2 left backs on the bench, it's very hard to understand why you haven't got an extra striker on the bench when you have goal scoring issues. He only plays with one up front, and he's saying that he's got Kai, he's got Werner, and then if he's got a bench, if he's got Giroud on the bench as well, that's 3 options for one position. So I do get that side of it, but I just think to myself, yes, Tammy might not suit what you're doing in the long term, but just to at least have him on the bench, not to start, because I've always said I think Tammy has holes in his game that don't make him the perfect solution up front long term right now, unless he continues to develop the heading ability, things like that need to improve. But when you're struggling to score goals and maybe your plan A needs to go out the window and you've got to change something, you're limiting your own options if you don't have the striking options on the bench for an issue that is there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the difference though with I think he doesn't. I don't think he sees Emerson as an out-and-out left back. I think that's part of it. Because Emerson's played a few different positions. He's played left wing. I think he's played centre back. I think he's also played midfield. And so I can maybe understand that whilst we all view him as a left back, I think maybe Thomas Tuchel might not so much, which might be the explanation there. Especially, with Christensen having been injured, he might have wanted that extra centre back. On the extra centre back, we look at it as a left back on the bench just in case there were any injuries. Before. Yeah, exactly. So that might be the reason. But I do look at that and I do feel sorry for Tammy. Just for I don't think he's been given. Whereas I think everyone, and that's the thing as well. It's not an easy job to keep everyone happy. It's a very difficult job.
The squad's bloated. It really is.
Exactly. It's not an easy. So someone is always going to be annoyed. Realistically, I actually think he's done a pretty good job to only have maybe one person who might be a little bit upset with it. But I do think maybe he could have had an extra chance or two to try and prove himself, because I think the games that he did play, it was apart from I think the last one was a couple of minutes against West Ham. And then before that was 2 45-minute first halves, and he got subbed off at half time both times. And because I personally do think Tammy's a striker who over maybe the next couple of years can be a 20+ goal a season in the Premier League striker. In his first season. First season in the Prem at 21, he got 13, 14 last year, and so he was injured as well for.
I think it was 15. And there's no penalties involved as well. Yeah, that's the thing.
Exactly, that is that, and we probably sit there going, "Oh, he probably missed a few chances as well." It's not easy, and I think whether he stays, whether he leaves, whatever happens, I think he's I think he'll have a fantastic future no matter what. But yeah, as I said, I think it's hard to keep everyone happy. But and if one player is maybe the one that isn't so happy, he's probably done a pretty good job there. I think Chelsea fans as well shouldn't freak out so much. I think as a fan base, we are probably one of the worst to if we have a loss, lose the plot, and actually sometimes maybe forget the how close the game was, or what's happened over the recent months and weeks, and how good it's been.
It's true, because like I said, this time last week everybody was on cloud 9, and a week later everybody's deflated, and I've seen some people saying I'm not really. I think everybody will be looking forward to the Champions League final when it's a couple of days out and you realise just the occasion and how big it is, and anything can happen in a final, as we've just seen. We went into that final against Leicester maybe a slight favourites, and we've come out the wrong side of it. So anything can happen in a final. And I think Chelsea have come into finals in worse condition than this team. They still have performed very well for 80-85% of Tuchel's tenure. There's just a few results where we've dropped points. And mainly it's because we can't finish. We can't get the ball in the back of the net often enough. I even look back at, this week. It's a lot of individual errors that are costing us. The defense is still, for the majority of the game, very strong, as it has been, but a lot of individual errors are costing us. So Reece James giving the ball away for the Telemans transition, Jorginho not really scanning or seeing where his goalkeeper is for the Arsenal game, even Christensen 1v1 with the Sterling situation as well. There's moments where you're thinking to yourself, if you guys were just 100% rock solid, we wouldn't maybe concede those goals. But we know the defense has been so flawless. It's more on the other end where we need to fix up, really, is with the goals. Yeah,
I'm thinking that's football. Everyone makes mistakes. Manchester City make mistakes. It's very, very difficult to go throughout a game and not make a mistake. And I think we actually might have been unfortunate that realistically every mistake that we've made in those past 3 games have been punished for. Apart from that, I can't think of a mistake where it's another one that's happened. And maybe for us, the issue is that we're not taking our chances when that mistake has happened. You've also got to remember as well, if say Reece Reece James did that ball several times during the game, and every single one may have started an attack. It's a shame that one that didn't is what caused or was the start of the goal that Chelsea conceded.
Yeah.
And that you got to live and die by the sword. It's what Barcelona did. There's a really, really good thing. I don't know if you've ever watched the documentary about Pep Guardiola's Barcelona.
I think I have.
Victor Valdez says in it, they were like, whatever you do not kick the ball long. Do not kick the ball long. Pass it out of the back, tiki-taka, even the goalkeeper, Victor Valdez. And there's an incident against, I think, Real Madrid where he passes it out and it gets intercepted and they concede. Yeah. And instead of like Pep makes sure they all tell you like, keep doing it. This is what we've trained for. Like you may make a mistake, but this might be what also scores us a goal. And 20, 15 minutes later, they pass out from the back and go on to score a goal. So you live and die by the sword. Sometimes it goes for you. Majority of the times it does go for you, especially at the professional level. But every now and again, it will go against you. You've just got to try and remember the times that the majority when it's gone for you rather than badly. Yeah, no,
100%. It's been fundamental to the way that we build up throughout the back, and it's funny because even though some of our players you wouldn't say are naturally used to that, I think Barcelona they've kind of been coached from the academy level to do that. You'd say maybe like Zuma or Mendy, they haven't really their whole education going up through whether it be loans to Stoke and Everton from Zuma's point of view, or Mendy, with his moves in France, they haven't really been trained up to do that, but they've listen, you have to do that. That is, you have no choice. So, they've kind of been forced into it, but they've, for the majority of it, they've done it quite well. Tammy hasn't signed an extension yet. Everyone else has. I mean, I don't know if that really plays a part in it too much, but
his deal, I think his deal's 2023, so he doesn't really need to sign an
it's
extension.
Difficult to say because there's two sides to that. Either you don't sign and then maybe they're trying to phase you out because they don't know if you're really in it to stay, or they'll play you more because they want you to sign, which I think is what kind of happened with Callum Hudson-Odoi a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and I think the reason Chelsea fans also feel like it hits more is because it's one of the first players in a long, long time that was ours. Right, he's come through the academy, and we know he has an ability there that he can be really good. And so I think people are a little bit saddened by the idea that, oh no, like obviously because Mason Mount's killing it, Callum Hudson-Odoi is killing it, Reece James is killing it. That the idea that Tammy Abraham, who we believe can kill it, might get sold. But at the same time, that's sometimes what happens in football. There are great academies that come through and players that do really, really well, but they also get sold and they do really, really well elsewhere.
Yeah. Tariq Lamptey's a great example. Not everybody can make it. When you have a conveyor belt where that many youngsters are coming out at the same time, you can't expect everyone to make it. It's
think really about the future, right? Like Tomori's killing it at AC Milan. Like
doing really well.
I really hope he stays, like so much. But he there's a possibility he goes. There's a possibility that Conor Gallagher at West Brom, who even though West Brom have been relegated, he's probably been one of their star players this season. Looks really, really good. There's a possibility he might move on one day. I mean, I don't know. I've got no idea. Or Ethan Ampadu, right? Like we all know that Ethan Ampadu's a good player. And so there are players that come through the academy where it's just what happens. Like maybe they're not quite cut out for Chelsea, but they might go kill it elsewhere. And that's happened throughout the Chelsea kind of conveyor belt, as you say. Yeah.
Kingsley saying Harry Kane to Chelsea. Mark my words. I mean, listen.
Mark them if it happens.
Listen, like I said earlier, it's one of those deals that are extremely difficult to get done. But if we did get him, I think everybody around him would flourish, because I think a lot of our issues as well is that we're just missing that final jigsaw in terms of maybe not even just obviously converting the chances, which we know he can do, but also that extra bit of leadership as well that he brings, and someone in their prime. Because when you look at Chelsea's attack, right, I know they've been, not always firing when it comes to putting the ball in the back of the net, but a lot of them they're not in their prime. Most of them, they're still developing. So, Werner's 24, he's going to be coming into his prime in a couple years. I think if he just sorts out his finishing and his conversion, then he's going to get goals because of the movement and the space that he occupies. He gets into dangerous positions. But I think someone like Werner needs a player like Harry Kane, because a player like Harry Kane will spot his runs. The amount of times Harry Kane has played the ball in behind to Son at the beginning, the middle of this season, that's the type of vision that you need. And Chelsea haven't really replaced that since Fabregas. I'm not saying Kane's on that level of playmaking, but you do need that kind of player who can play make. And Ziyech is obviously, you're hoping he becomes that next season if he gets a preseason and really settles down. Kai Havertz as well, we know he has that range, but Kane would just really solidify it because he's played in this league, because he's been very consistent over the last few years as well. And he has become like a playmaker / striker. So I think not only would he be brilliant for the team, but everybody around him would actually flourish as well, because the intelligence is just on another level.
I don't. It's really rough with Kane because I just don't see a club. I don't see City offering 150 mil. City a lot of money, but City don't spend a lot of money on one player. Yeah, they'll spend 60, 70, which is a lot of money, but not a ridiculous fee. They'll never do it. Chelsea, I think, could possibly do it, but I don't think Spurs would accept it. It's a hard situation he's found himself in. For himself, ideally, he would have maybe been a little bit more shitter this season. And so he could have maybe been a little bit cheaper, but he's been unreal. And whatever team he goes to, he realistically he gives himself the best chance of winning the Premier League, the best chance of winning the Champions League. Like, he's got every pick. The issue is whether every pick can actually get him, because he's at a club where the chairman is one of the toughest in the league.
Negotiated,
to buy, and that's a fair play to Daniel Levy. Like, he knows what he's done. Like, he's without realizing he's kind of Zaha himself, a bit like maybe Jack Grealish has at Aston Villa, signing such a long-term deal a few years back and committing to the club. The only way I see a move happening is if he has some sort of gentleman's agreement that with the club or with Levy, where he can say, I want to leave after a certain amount of time, and like Messi had in his contract last year, even though legally it got screwed anyway. He can leave for a lot cheaper or something like that. Otherwise, I just don't see a world where it happens unless one of the owners of the club go, you know what, here's 150, they'll take it, and then maybe, which could happen. Like, I'll be honest,
Roland clubs that have been putting out that kind of, like, the breaking that 100 million threshold is not something that clubs take.
It's PSG and Real Madrid.
Yeah, I think PSG, Barcelona, Real Madrid would be your top three that have broken that, with like Dembele joining Barcelona, Coutinho, Neymar, Mbappe. And then I think Hazard maybe in add-ons might have broken it.
Yes, I think it has. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in add-ons, I think it was going up to that kind of level. Chelsea, I think, are quite hesitant to break that Kepa transfer record. Even with Kai Havertz, I think they wanted to negotiate under that for the initial fee, just so he wasn't the record signing. Because there's a certain, not a stigma, but there's a certain pressure that comes with being your club's record signing. And I don't know if that translates to the player, with the pressure that they feel when that comes with it, or how that, I mean, you obviously speak to players. Do you think that can kind of get in their head if they know they're the record transfer, or do you think it doesn't really make a difference?
In terms of Kane, I think it makes a difference. Like, Kane's played in the league. Like, Kane's played in the league. Like, whatever you get him, he's going to be unreal unless it's him. In terms of players, I think it just depends. Depends. Like, I've spoken to quite a few, and I think they probably all definitely feel pressure, but I think the best footballers thrive off it. Like, they want the pressure. And I think for this season, I think it's actually, I think it's been a lot tougher for players who have moved to their club during a pandemic, without their family, without seeing, being able to go home for Christmas and all this stuff. Like, I think it's a lot harder than people probably realise, which can take its toll. But I remember, like, I spoke to Timo Werner, and beforehand I was like preparing myself, thinking like, this could be a bit rough. Like, he might not want to be too jokey, especially with, obviously, his season hasn't gone as well as people might have thought it would have been. I mean, he's done all right, considering all things considered. And he was absolutely lovely. Like, one of the nicest guys I've interviewed. He's like so funny, like willing to get involved, and that like surprised me. Where I was like, oh, maybe like he is just enjoying his football. I think that's what it's coming to nowadays. Where I think back in the day, a lot of players maybe would have fallen a bit more under the pressure. Whereas I think these guys have grown up seeing it and probably having it since they were 16, 17 years old anyway, especially at Chelsea. Like, the guys like Callum Hudson-Odoi, Reece James, Mason Mount, like, they've had the pressure on them to get into the first team since they were 12 years old. Like, now it's just about continuing and getting better and better. Like, this part, it's obviously not the easy part, but this could be the easiest part of their journey so far, realistically. Just trying to get better. And so, like, I think next season, like Timo Werner and Kai Havertz and any of the players that have been a bit badder this year, will be unreal next season.
You expect them to improve,
yeah, for sure, and especially when fans are back in stadiums and stuff like that. I just think as well, like there is definitely a thing though where with players and like having confidence and stuff like that. Just like there is in anything, having confidence. Like I think we forget that sometimes people can just have bad days. Like anyone watching this, or between like you and me, there's days where you're just like, you know what, I don't want to record a video. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do this, and you still have to go and do it anyway.
Yeah,
and footballers have that as well. Just probably 10 times more when they've got the media and fans and everyone like reminding them. And so I think that's where it's all about having a good people around you, and that is something I think Chelsea really does have. Is they all seem very like community based. They all get along. Everyone's having a laugh together, like building themselves up. Like I mean, like the Timo Werner goal against West Ham, and he's like pointing to Tammy and pointing to Callum Hudson-Odoi because they've told him before the game, like you're going to score today. You're going to score today. Like that like if that doesn't show like a good team morale, I don't know what does.
Yeah. Do you know what it is with Timo as well? As much as he does frustrate me, because I've spoken about what he brings to the team in terms of his movement, the fact that he can create opportunities and spaces for others, and then obviously the frustrating things with the finishing and sometimes the touch and being offside and things like that. But the one thing that's never been in question with him is the attitude. And I think I've got a rule in my head that new signings need that second season, especially when this season has not been normal as well. We spoke about Kai having COVID as well, which is he's spoken about that publicly so much and how much that actually took a toll on him. And that is one of my big defenses for him, is that people actually forget that not everybody reacts to having that the same way. And he's only really come out in the last month and said, I've actually fully got over it now, and now I can start trying to perform. But with Timo is very, very self-reflective. That's the good thing about him. And as long as his attitude stays at a great level, which so far it has been, then you would back him to improve next season, because he does get a lot of opportunities. That's the thing. He just needs to put them away.
He's also not had I can't say the stats off the top of my head, but like 22 goal involvement or 23 goal involvements in one season isn't bad. Like, okay, he's a striker and he's a striker who's meant to score goals. And I get that. But with the way Chelsea play football and the way that it's been this season, that's not how we've done it. We haven't done it by that rule book. It's actually a lot of people chipping in. And whether he's on the left wing or whether he's on the right wing or striker, behind the striker, whatever it is, it seemingly works. Sure, he should be doing better in front of goal. I completely agree with that. But he does, and as you said, he does basically everything else right and really, really well, and links up really, really well. That it's only like it will eventually come. Like I can't see a world where next season he isn't on more goals, isn't scoring more. And players like look, if you look at Didier Drogba's first season in the Premier League, I'm certain it was like 11 goals. Something like that. I'll search for it now.
I've been told maybe the goal record is not great from Drogba in his first couple of years. I think the one thing when it comes to Timo, when it depends on who we bring in as well, because you would expect that any new striker that comes in is going to have him in mind, because we've seen where Chelsea are at with their investments now. Even with Kepa, when you bring in a player for quite a bit of money, they usually have a lot of loyalty to that investment and want to see it through for a while before they either get their reward and the player improves, or they have to admit defeat and say this player hasn't worked out. So Timo is going to be a big part of the team next year. So whatever striker they bring in, I'm hoping that, whether it's looking back at what Leipzig did with him, obviously playing in a two-striker system, a bit different in the Bundesliga because he was coming up against quite a lot of high lines, but they need to study how to get the best out of him as well with this new striker, because I don't see a world where he's going to really not be in the team too much. I mean, there's obviously always going to be rotation. You've got quite a lot of players vying for those positions. I expect Kai to be playing a lot more as well. So there's always going to be a give and take, but you have to try and at least show the summer that we just had, where we spent all that money, that those were the right decisions. You can't just go into this summer, spend a load of money again in players that can't improve those players as well that you've just signed, because this is the opportunity now, really, for the first time, to have a pre-season with this group and actually do some improvement. I remember when Tottenham under Pochettino, they didn't sign anyone for years, but they actually kept improving because the coaching, and they improved players and they made them better. And they had quite a young team as well. So,
yeah, I mean, long term, that probably fucked them. That probably screwed them over a bit. And maybe Poch would still be there if they'd spent money. Maybe Harry Kane would be staying if they spent money. And I do completely agree with you. But I just think I think the season just gone was Chelsea spending the money on the future. Like that was the money to kind of secure us for the future. And I agree that I think Chelsea will be aware of maybe a striker, like as you said, Harry Kane. They'll probably ask. I don't think they'll be able to get him. I don't think Haaland will be moving this summer. I think it will be too much money. Again, it's probably going to be about 150 mil to get him this summer. I think the better chance of getting him is the year after when he's 60 million. And Lukaku doesn't look like he's going to lead Inter Milan. So after that, like I don't really see a striker. I don't really see a striker that's worth spending so much money on to try and link them up when you've already got what you've got here. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we get to the end of the transfer window and Chelsea have bought one player. Like I think there'll be a lot of selling because I think Chelsea, as you said, it's such a big squad, and I think Chelsea there'll be a lot of especially for players. You know, Danny Drinkwater's still at the club. Don't know if Victor Moses' contract ends this season. Like I think that will happen. But I don't know if there'll be a lot of players being brought in. I've seen people say Andre Silva and Dybala. Like I don't really see that happening at all.
No, I don't think Dybala's what this team needs when you've got a player like Kai Havertz and Ziyech already. Yeah,
and then there are other guys as well. That's like who's the boy that's on loan at Vitesse who's doing really well?
Boja.
Boja, like Boja, he's doing really well. I'm not saying he's going to start next season. It's not going to happen. No. But he might get a loan in the Championship
as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
this is really what the scouts are now paid for to because obviously we know the obvious targets. Some people are saying they'd like Son. I like Son a lot as well as a player. I think I would definitely take him as well. I think he could play that striker, false nine, fluidity, movement type role for Tuchel quite well because he's not an out and out striker, but you know he can finish as well. He's a very, very accomplished finisher with both feet. So I would take Son as well, to be honest. And he's got a bit of shithousery to him as well. A lot of Chelsea fans don't like him. But I would take either Kane or Son. But I always think to myself as well, the scouts are there. Like how many people really knew about Drogba before we signed him at Marseille? Yeah, maybe some people that were following Ligue 1, but not too many maybe. How many people knew about maybe Florent Malouda when we signed him from Lyon as well? Maybe not as many as. So it's not that they're not always the obvious targets, but they can do extremely well, you know. Yeah. And I think that's where good scouting needs to be done, and they need to try and find a solution.
Chelsea have a good track record of that. I mean, yeah, they do because they brought in Kevin De Bruyne, they brought in Mohamed Salah, they brought in Lukaku. The difference then was the manager at the time didn't want to use them. Chelsea brought them in. The manager didn't want to use them, and so there's only so much Chelsea can do when they're getting offered. Chelsea look at it and they go, "Okay, Mourinho doesn't want to keep them. Like their value's just going to drop. We might as well sell them now." And obviously they turned out to be really, really good. So the scouting is there. I just think as well, like in terms of striker, like next season, like I don't know if Giroud's going to sign a new contract. If he doesn't, then that's Abraham, Werner, and Kai. Like that's not awful. That's not awful. I mean, it's definitely it can improve, but it can only improve.
That would be coaching. Then coaching.
Exactly. And that's what I do think like a pre-season, because they've not had a pre-season yet. Like I think a proper pre-season under Tuchel as well, who obviously we know loves his training sessions and loves like drilling into players what he wants. Will go really far for these guys. And who knows? Like I wouldn't be surprised if after like 5 games we're looking at these guys as completely different kinds of players. And so it's gonna be interesting. Like I think for a lot of these guys, there's a few, even some of the lone boys like Mark Gehi. I really hope
very promising.
I really hope he's got a good future because I think he's fantastic and such a lovely guy. Again, Tomori, like there's a lot that's going to happen in the summer. I don't necessarily think Chelsea are going to bring in a lot, but I think it's going to be a busy summer for Chelsea no matter what.
No, I think it has to be as well. There's definitely some reshaping to be done. There's a good core foundation there. It just needs to be rough, and the edges are a bit rough, and it just needs to be now complete.
And he said they're so young, right? Like they've got such a long time to get better.
This is where the development of the youth up against the expectations of winning now clash, because the development and the potential of these guys is of title winners, but they're going to deliver that right now. If you want it right now, then you need players in their prime, so you have to get the balance right.
I think being in a Champions League final now is probably about 2 years ahead of where they expected to be.
Ahead of schedule.
It's so ahead of schedule, like 2 or 3 years. And like I hope, because I really do think Chelsea have found a manager who suits them really well, where they've got a guy who's who's so good at bringing through youth and being very tactical and getting his game plan to work on the pitch. Who has now got the experience of working with talented players like Neymar and Mbappe and dealing with these guys that might have a bit of an aura about them. And now he's joined Chelsea. I think he's someone who, like, realistically, like, next season we could be like going for it all, and that's probably still a year or two ahead of what we were expecting.
Yeah, no, 100%. This super chat from Aaron says Harry Kane wants guaranteed trophies. There's only one club in England that guarantee it. That is in City. Will compete consistently if we get him. To be honest, I think when it comes to City, they're very strategic with their transfers. They don't tend to splash a lot on one player, which is what Zac was saying earlier. If you look at, I don't know what transfers records, I don't know what their record signing is.
I think it's Diaz. I think
it might be Diaz, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so, like 70 mil or something like that.
Yeah, max 60 something. Yeah, max. So they haven't splashed the kind of money they have to get Kane to do so. And sometimes you have to look at Man City and think to themselves, will they feel like they need Harry Kane to win a title? Because they've just won this league title. They're without Sergio Aguero. Torres has scored a hat-trick there against Newcastle. Their system doesn't really rely on a focal point up front anyway, because their chance creation and movement is so good anyway. So
yeah, and also they'll be thinking two things. There's rumours about Lewandowski at the moment, whether that actually happens or not. There's rumours about him, and also if you buy Harry Kane for 150 million this season or whatever the price is, you are then not getting Erling Haaland next season for 60 million euros.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And or he's not going to want to come to a club where he's having to battle Harry Kane. Yeah. So they might be thinking long term here as well, where it's okay. We've have an amazing year of Harry Kane. He does really well, and we have him for 4 or 5 years. Like, he could be there until he's 32 or whatever. Yeah. But you could have Erling Haaland for a decade.
Do you know
who's already doing ridiculous things?
The Erling Haaland thing is so difficult because when it comes to, they're definitely linked, because we know that not one club can attain both players. Erling Haaland you can get for cheaper, but you know you're going to be fighting with more clubs to get him because of that cheap fee, and he's going to be able to negotiate with anyone. So that lessens that causes its own problem in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, the one thing with Haaland is he's a City fan.
Yeah,
he's a City fan. His dad plays for City. Sorry?
Do you think it'll play a massive part? Because
I think what will play a part is who. I think the biggest part will be who pays Mino Raiola the biggest fee. I think that'll be the biggest part, and who's willing to pay him the most money. Like, there are rumours that he wants to be earning something like 600k a week and stuff like this. And so these are all what's going to play effects. And fair play to him. Like, if you're that good at this age, you're allowed to ask for what you want, because people are going to pay that much. Yeah. But I think there'll be several factors. But even, like, no matter how big you get, you'll always have a bit about you thinking that, like, I was a City fan or I am a City fan. Like, it'll be nice to play for. I mean, Rob Holding is a Manchester United fan who plays for Arsenal. Like, there are different things. Like, I think Tammy Abraham was an Arsenal fan growing up. As you grow up, I mean, you play for the club you play for, and you learn to love them anyway. So I don't think whatever club he joins doesn't matter too much. But there might be something in the back of his mind, especially when City are also financially able to offer him what he wants to.
Do you know what throws a spanner into work so much about him and his future is that Raiola? He is the big component here, because I think, Chelsea.
Oh, massively, yeah.
Chelsea and Raiola have not had the best dealings in the past when we tried to get Lukaku for Conte, and then we had to get one instead. Man City and Pep, they've got a very locked down,
they're not the biggest fans of Raiola.
They don't
as well.
about with all that kind of stuff.
Raiola hates United. United hate Raiola.
Man City are so big on the environment that they create, and this is why they're able to even attract some of these South Americans to Manchester, because the weather up there is awful, but they make it so welcoming, and there's no drama. You look at the play. The thing, sometimes I look at Man City and I'm very much liking them to Chelsea, where they don't lose their big players. You look at David Silva, Sergio Aguero, Kevin De Bruyne, Vincent Kompany. There's never ever been a link where they go to another club like Real Madrid or Barcelona. They seem to keep their players happy, and they keep them stable. And I think when you've got an agent like that who's ready to do like this European tour of different cities, whatnot, like he's a pop star, I don't think that kind of fits into what Pep Guardiola is quite trying to build as well. And then Bayern the same. Bayern are quite rigid in the way that they operate, so it's very strange. I mean, he's a super agent. Like, he's good at what he does. At the end of the day, he's really good at what he does. And if you're a club that wants
possibly the next best striker for the next decade, you're going to have to deal with someone that's a bit of a dickhead and who knows he is and who will want 60, probably maybe 40 million pounds himself. And that, as I said, he's smart. He got to Haaland early. He found himself the player and got part of his team early. The other bit as well is his dad. I know his dad plays a massive part in his life.
Alfie, yeah,
and obviously he played for City. And so there's several things. Maybe Chelsea try the Eden Hazard route of we'll take your brothers in the academy, because his brother, I think his brother's shining as well, and he's like 14,
he is,
15. So there's so many different things that could happen that like probably we don't think of too much, and I think this summer I don't think it'll be possible, especially as Dortmund have now got Champions League football. I think he's happy to stay there, and they're gonna. I think they're very likely to probably lose Sancho as well in the summer. I don't think they want to lose him this summer, but the year after, that's when the talk will happen. But then it depends if Kane's still at Spurs or not. Because if Kane's then still at Spurs, another year closer to the end of his contract, Spurs might be thinking more about getting money in. It could be a toss-up. Like, okay,
the Spanish teams might be financially a bit more
possibly. I don't know too much about that. With the way Florentino Perez keeps talking, football's done in a couple of years, at least over there anyway. And so it could end up being a thing that, like, okay, whatever team gets Haaland and the other team try and get Kane. Like, who knows? And there's still the Euros as well, right? Like, everything. I always find if a player has a good Euros, then somehow that can add about an extra 10-15 million to their.
It happens so often. The World Cup is the biggest for it as well. You have a good World Cup, your rate just goes up. I remember James Rodriguez, Carlos Navas at Costa Rica as well. He was unbelievable that time against the move. So there's so many factors. I'm going to bring it back to the Leicester game to finish up in terms of just picking our lineup in terms of what we go with. The striker talk has been very fun. I can't lie. I do love a good striker. It's the business part of the pitch. Everybody knows you get a good striker. I remember Diego Costa and all these signings. You get a striker. I feel like you can feel if your team's going to win the league in the first few weekends. A lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time.
Well, not City.
No, not City. But I remember when we had. Do you remember that Burnley win that we had? Cesc Fabregas with the pass.
Cesc Fabregas, Andre Schürrle pops it in. Yeah, unreal.
I knew we were going to win the league that day. It's just I don't know why. It just felt right. But Chelsea in the Premier League are currently in fourth, 2 points behind Leicester City, who obviously we placed. We have the opportunity to move up to third, which after the week we've just had, it doesn't sound real, but that is the circumstance. And Liverpool obviously 1 point behind us. Everybody's played the same amount of games, and everybody's in decent form. 3 wins out of the last 5 for Leicester, 3 wins out of the last 5 for Chelsea, 3 wins out of the last 5 for Liverpool. Obviously, it's a must-win game. Anything else, and we're out of the top 4, and it's not in our hands potentially if Liverpool get the job done. That goal from Alisson, I'm starting to. I can feel some sort of Liverpool revival. I don't know. Obviously, I'd be interested to get your opinion on it. I don't feel like we can drop points again. I think we have to win against Leicester,
not at all.
And we have to win against Aston Villa. The way that Liverpool are playing, I just don't think we can drop points again. I think they are. They're smelling that type of revival. The cop, everything is starting to come into play for them, and they know if they win all their games, they get through as well.
I don't know who Liverpool play actually. I'll quickly Google it, but I remember they weren't great against West Brom. The only reason Liverpool have a chance of getting the Champions League is because of Mohamed Salah. The guy's been unreal this year. So they've got Burnley, which actually isn't an easy game. They lost 1-0 to them, and then they've got Crystal Palace at the end of the season, which is quite big.
We've got Aston Villa, and that's where the fans come back into play at Villa Park as well.
And Jack Grealish is also back. Yeah. Of course, he's climbed it to be perfectly back.
Jack Grealish will be fit for that game, no doubt. So don't count that out. And also another thing that not really too many people are talking about, but I'll bring it up here. Goal difference is very tight. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'll read it out anyway. Leicester's goal difference is 21. Chelsea's goal difference is 22. And Liverpool's goal difference is 21.
Jesus. So, well, I mean, if whatever happens in the Chelsea-Leicester game, one of them's dropping or staying the same, basically.
Yeah.
It's rough. It's rough. I mean, I feel more confident in the league game, and I did before the FA Cup. I felt more confident in the league game than I did the FA Cup game. Okay. Even more so though after the loss. More so, like. as I said, I didn't think Leicester were that great. And I actually thought Leicester had everyone but Johnny Evans on the pitch. Whereas I look at the Chelsea guys, I'm like, okay, we can improve massively. They can only get a little bit better. And I think, I hope anyway. I hope it's an absolute. I want to absolutely slap him. Ideally, after what happened.
Do you know what as well? There's been a lot of in terms of people have been saying what's more important, because now this is the part of the season where you prioritize. For me, I just go into every game, just win every game. But obviously, it doesn't always work.
Of course, yeah.
Do you think? I mean, obviously, the Champions League final, if you win it, you qualify for the Champions League. So that in itself, in isolation, is really the most important game of the season. That can kill two birds with one stone. But you as a fan, do you look at the FA Cup win as more important or qualifying for the top four? Because I personally feel like the top four has become so much like of this like big achievement, but it doesn't count as a trophy. I obviously understand what it means long term for bringing in signings, revenue, and just keeping the club moving in a positive direction. But you can't get back trophies. Do you know what I mean? Like that in itself is history as well. So
it's tough. It's tough because I think if someone said the top four is better, I can understand that point absolutely fine. If someone said the FA Cup's better, I can understand that point equally fine. I think whatever you say doesn't. I think you're probably right in both cases.
Yeah.
For me, oh God, I really don't know. I'm not too sure. Like I like the idea. I'd say the Champions League, because the Champions League gives you the opportunity to win a better trophy. Okay. If that makes sense. That's what I say. But then, like, if you went to me, I prefer the FA Cup. Like, I would also be like, yeah, I can see that. I probably agree. I think they're probably level. Honestly, I think they're probably level.
Olivia did ask me on the Premier League show, and and as soon as she asked me, I remembered that I asked her when I was interviewing you guys. I think I interviewed you and I interviewed Olivia for All Things Chelsea when I used to own the blog, and I asked you guys the same question at the end of last season when Lampard was in the FA Cup final to mess with you. And I'm sitting there on the show,
weird.
And she asked me, and I'm just looking back at her like, you did this. And it's not easy to answer, but for me, I always just go. The reason there's two different ways of looking at it. People will say Arsenal won the FA Cup and look at them now, and then people will say Arsenal qualified for the top four under Wenger and it didn't really go on to do anything. So it really depends on the ambitions of your club when given the opportunity to do damage.
I mean, they won the FA Cup last season, and they haven't done much this season. Like, I think it's very much like a.
You can say even if you don't qualify for Champions League, Man United still got Pogba and Arsenal still signed Aubameyang. So there's like. Do you know what I mean? There's so many factors.
That happened when they weren't in the Champions League. Wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Pogba signed when they was like in Europe.
Wow.
Like that. Yeah.
That is pretty interesting. Actually, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting.
Yeah, but like it really just depends on what perspective you come at it from. There's so many factors to it. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think really, as I said, like I think with the players that Chelsea are looking to sign this season, unless it's Harry Kane, I don't think Champions League football is as important. Like you're not going to get Haaland this season, so don't worry too much. But like, and I also don't want to put it down to staying in the Champions League by winning it, like we did in 2012. Like that would be
fun.
That would be rough.
That was fun. I must say though, if Liverpool did finish fourth and we knocked them out via winning the Champions League, that would just about make up for the ghost.
Oh mate,
which I'm still not over.
Oh, you know what I actually want, and I mean this really, and people can call me salty after the FA Cup, whatever. I hope that Liverpool make the top four, we get third, and Leicester get knocked out.
Really?
Yeah, mate. Have your FA Cup, mate. Have your FA Cup. Yeah, have your FA Cup. Go laugh about it all you want. Go, mate. Take the piss. Enjoy the Europa League. All right, enjoy the Europa League.
About Leicester, I was happy for them until that video. That video, and then I started to develop salty vibes.
That's the most salty I've been there. That's the most salty
I like
I've been.
them as a club. I like the way they run.
They're really well
scouting. You know, there's a lot of backstory to them that I like, and I like the come up and the fact that they've shown it's possible to win the Premier League. But that video clip of Amati, I'm not gonna lie to you, that might have you just created something. I don't know if it's that deep, but we'll find out.
I weirdly didn't mind it that much. Like obviously I thought I was like, oh, it's not great. Like, what's he doing? Yeah. And I like the fact that like whoever was on the Instagram live was like, probably shouldn't be recording this, and turned it off straight away. But like, I didn't necessarily get like. I saw some people that were like fuming, and I
Yeah,
get
some people
why.
were really angry.
I think some people have like weird things that they get annoyed about. Like I know someone.
It's like it's not the same level, but you know when like someone's country flag is on the floor, they get really offended.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
If you rate if you kind of, because obviously some people support their club more than their country. That's
Yeah,
just sometimes
very true. Yeah,
so if they see the Chelsea flag as this symbolic meaning and they feel like it's been disrespected, they will react like that. So it's kind of like,
I remember one of my mates got annoyed at Ollie. I think they drew 1-1 in the Europa League in the first leg or whatever, and they were annoyed that Ollie was like laughing with his fellow Norwegian guy, and I was like,
yeah.
What? Why? You know, like, it's not that, for me. It's not that deep, but I guess some people do get annoyed by it.
Yeah, someone's asked how many yellow cards tomorrow. Honestly,
how indeed?
Do you remember the Battle of the Bridge?
How
Chelsea
did
versus
Indeed
Tottenham?
not get booked? I couldn't believe that in the FA Cup final. Indeed probably made about 5 or 6 fouls and didn't get a yellow card. And I remember counting them, losing my head. Like normally, if you make 2 fouls, it equals a yellow card. Well, that's how it works in my head. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
He was moving like Fernandinho when he was playing. And he just didn't get booked. I was
exactly.
like, what kind of sorcery is this?
Exactly.
Incredible. It's the dark arts. It's like Macaulay.
It is the dark arts.
As well. They really do know how to do it, those guys. Just before we close up, we'll do a little starting 11, which I always do really for my previews. We'll pick a starting 11 for what starting 11 we would put out, not really what we predict Tuchel will do. I don't think you can really predict what Tuchel will do anymore with the starting 11s I've been seeing in the last couple of weeks. He's definitely on a rotation thing. In goal, who would you start tomorrow against Leicester in goal?
Mendy. Mendy. Like, I'm not too bothered about like. I know Alex, for instance, really doesn't like cup keepers, or at least in the finals anyway. But personally, like I'm not too bothered about it. But I would start Mendy. Like he is the number one, and he should be starting that game for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think he will now, because obviously lead up to the Champions League, you're going to want to try. I hope we try and find some existing chemistry and consistency with the team now. We don't have a cluster of fixtures. We've got this game here on Tuesday, another game on Saturday, and then the following Saturday. So there's enough break in there now, I think, to play near enough the same team if you can to establish some sort of chemistry. Obviously 3 at the back. For me, I think I'd go Thiago Silva again. I'm not usually comfortable with playing him back to back so close in congestion because of his age, but at this point, I think it's just you just have to play.
Yeah, for sure. Because also, if you win this game, you can probably rest him against Aston Villa. You can probably rest him against Aston Villa, which is fair enough. Yeah, I completely agree. I think him. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Reece James at centre back again.
Really.
Because I thought he dealt with, of course, one bad
Jamie
pass.
Vardy,
but I thought he dealt with Jamie Vardy so well, and it's not easy to deal with Jamie Vardy.
No, it's not.
And I thought he did fantastic. And then Rudiger, monster. He's ridiculous, especially in 3 at the back. He is the man. Though I also wouldn't if
Christensen and Kroenke are on their way back, and they could be in the squad. Whether they start, I don't really know. Yeah,
I think he might not take the risk on starting him. I think he might start Andreas, actually, and then put Reece James at right wing back. I think in my starting 11, I'll put Reece, I'll put the FA Cup finals back 3 basically.
Yeah, because to be honest, outside the goal, they didn't really concede loads of chances.
Yeah, exactly. I thought they did pretty well. And as I said, first time I've seen Reece play in that position, I thought you would have thought that was his position. He was so good.
Yeah, I've been calling for Reece to play in that position for quite a long time. I think with what I've seen in terms of his traits and his physical attributes,
absolutely fine.
I think that position probably maybe even more suited to him long term. I think the way he steps into midfield, obviously, as a right side and left centre back, you have to step forward. Obviously, he's going to have to learn and grow into the role and develop, but I think he's got the characteristics to play there. So he plays centre back in the youth academy as well. Right wing back and left wing back. For me, I'll go Chilwell and Hudson-Odoi. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I really liked both of them when they came on, especially as Callum didn't have the strongest of games against Arsenal when he came on.
Oh yeah.
And I thought he was good. I thought he was really good actually when he came on the pitch. And so and Chilwell, as I said, he wasn't on for long, and he really did affect them. And I think he'll be buzzing to play against Leicester as well, especially after what happened.
Yeah, I think he really wanted to play against them. He was dying to play that FA Cup final from some of the quotes I was reading before, so he's definitely going to be motivated for this. The way that he celebrated, unfortunately, the goal obviously didn't count. I'll get your take on. I mean, what was you doing in that moment when that goal went in? Because I know
saying a lot of profanities. But I also noticed the offside really early.
Oh,
When it happened, when the ball first played, I remember thinking he could be offside here. So I did a lot of franities, and then I realised I was like, he could be offside here.
Oh, really?
So I didn't see them celebrating because I remember putting my face in the pillow, being like, I think he's offside. I think he's offside.
I was the complete opposite. I didn't know it was. I wasn't even thinking. I was just like, oh, the ball's gone in the back of the net. Lost my shit, and then I looked back and I was like, oh god. And then I realized everybody had stopped celebrating. I was like, oh no, this happened, hasn't it? It instantly reminded me of that Azpilicueta goal against Ajax.
Yeah. I mean, that one I did celebrate. I was at the ground when that one happened. I was at the ground
as well. We spoke
about
it last time.
I think that's one of my best atmospheres I've been to at the Bridge. Honestly, unreal.
Yeah. I always go back to that because that was honestly, as a football fan, I've never experienced anything like that.
It was so much fun.
Ridiculous, yeah.
Because there was no Ajax fans there, were there? Or there was like maybe there was like 50 or whatever. Because I think they were banned or something like that.
They were, yes.
And I think some had managed to sneak in. And I remember honestly, Stamford Bridge was absolutely. We were losing like 3-1.
We was losing 4-1.
4-1, yeah. And I actually remember Stamford Bridge being like popping, bouncing, and people like supporting them.
It was crazy. We was losing 4-1 and we managed to bring it back. It was almost a perfect comeback. So we've got our wing backs there. So I guess centre midfield, Jorginho and Kante, will it be for you? Because Jorginho's got quite a bit of stick in the last.
He has got quite a bit of stick
in the last 2 games.
And this is what I kind of mentioned earlier, where I was like, he does so much good, but obviously that isn't what gets noticed when you make 2 mistakes in 2 games. And I understand that. I think that's fair enough. I think you're allowed to criticize. I think some people go a little bit too far. But I think it will need to be a Kante Jorginho. I don't think Kovacic is fit enough. I don't think this is maybe the game for Billy Gilmore. I think that might be against Aston Villa. But I think Billy's been great though. I think he has been fantastic in the games that he has played. And so, I think it's a Jorginho, Kante one. And as I said, I understand people's criticisms. The people might think he makes a lot of mistakes, but I actually think he allows us to play
the way we do.
And one, you make a mistake. I think he needs to be a bit more switched on about maybe closing a man down. But I think Kante, Jorginho would be my midfield.
Yeah, I would agree with you as well. And then moving into the front 3, it gets very interesting. This is every time I do a lineup, this really is the part of the pitch where everybody has different ideas in their head because there's so much options available to us. It's like a kid in a candy store. It's like, I want that, but I don't know that. Does this go with this? I don't know. Like there's so many options going forward here, and because none of them are really consistent, it just continues to keep changing because it's like you're trying to match form with chemistry or. It's confusing. So who would your front 3 be really for this game now?
So I would say it would be. What would be my ideal one? So I would be either Mason, Kai, Werner,
okay, or
Mason, Kai, Pulisic. Either one of those 2, I would quite like. I mean, it could also be a Mason, Pulisic, Werner, but I don't think that will happen.
No.
But I think you probably need to play Werner, and you have to play Mason Mount. Then it's a switch between either Kyle or Christian Pulisic. I think if Callum's on the pitch, then having Pulisic as well, maybe 2 players that can kind of do the same kind of thing. Maybe if you play Pulisic on the left flank, it'll be a bit different. But that front 3, I think you may want Werner as well for his pace, especially like we should get at them more. We should get at them
against Arsenal as well.
That was
it's very difficult.
Was Werner even? Werner wasn't playing in that. That was Pulisic. That was Pulisic, Kai, and Mason, I think.
Yeah, and it's a front 3 that I like because of that Palace game. But then the Arsenal game, they didn't really show anything.
They didn't. Yeah.
It was very static going forward. I was quite surprised actually because that is quite a fluid front 3, and there's a lot of good finishers there with potential to be good finishers. And it was just very static against Arsenal. I was very disappointed. But then Werner didn't play great at the weekend there with the FA Cup game, and Ziyech wasn't great either in the first half. So and then again, people will say, "Where's Tammy and Drew coming into this?" I think those 2 now they've had such little minutes that every time they come on, they don't really look ready.
Yeah, I just don't think. I don't think Tammy will be playing. He might play in the Aston Villa game. I don't think he'll play, sadly, in the Leicester game. He might be on the bench. But I think, you know what, if I've got to pick one, I think it'll be a Kai. I think it'll be a Kai, Mason, Werner on like the left wing, where he might be able to do a bit more damage to them. That's what I'll go with. But as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Pulisic plays.
Yeah, I'll go with Kai and Mount and Pulisic again, same as the Arsenal one. But obviously, the level has to be a completely different thing to what we saw against Arsenal, because we need to win this game. And like
the difference we have here, though, is they also have to win. So they will have to push up, which will give a lot more space for us to play in. What we can't do is concede first.
Yeah,
we cannot concede first. We struggle to score when we are one.
If they draw, that will take them to 67 points, and if Liverpool win, it will take them to 66. But they have Tottenham on the final day.
Exactly, which isn't actually easy.
It's not easy. Yeah, I mean, Tottenham,
you can't risk it. You
can't really risk it. No, Tottenham are in sixth, challenging for Europa League football or whatever. I don't know how motivated they are going to be there. Obviously, Harry Kane has thrown a spanner in the works there with their dressing room. So it's too tight, and I'm not happy about how tight it is. This could have been wrapped up way earlier. But listen, this is how Chelsea do it. It's the Chelsea thing to do it the hard way. But hopefully they get it done over the line. I remember last season when Mason Mount scored in the final day against Wolves. I'll take similar. Yeah, the free kick. I'll take similar outcome there, so we can focus on the Champions League final in Portugal. Zach, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, bro. Honestly, it's always great fun. Tell us about any content that's coming out. I saw a great interview of you and Sam on the Football Daily as well, and any other stuff that's coming up in the future.
Yeah, me and Sam, who's been in many times, we spoke to Ivan Toney, the Brentford striker who Chelsea have been linked to. Lovely guy. Really, really good. Killing it in the Championship. I don't know if he scored. He's playing right now, I think. He's got something like 30 goals and 10 assists in the Championship. Broke the record for the most goals in the Championship. Ridiculous player. If he's not in the Premier League next year with Brentford, he'll most definitely be there with another team.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's class. What else is there? I've got a video with me and the Football Daily boys going out on my channel soon, just talking about Football Daily and how we've been over the past year and 5 years and that, if you want to check that out. If you know who Football Daily are, that is. Yeah, that's it. If you want, just say hello to me, check me out. I also do stuff for Chelsea. That's brilliant.
Great stuff. I hope, Victor, look, this is why I love Victor. He's always on the ball. The link is already
much appreciated, Victor.
He is probably more reliable than I am when it comes to this channel. There's certain things that sometimes I forget to do and I have to do them afterwards. He is always on the ball. So big ups to Victor. The link is in the description. Make sure you go and subscribe to Zach's channel. There's great content on there as well. I remember watching this Will and E
Pro Clubs video.
Yeah,
still hasn't sent me what I need yet. He's cheating me out of my money.
You actually was now convincing me to get back into playing FIFA and gaming.
Oh mate, Pro Clubs is my favorite game mode. I could play that for years. Honestly, I love that game mode. We used to do a whole series on it where we had 8 people in the same room playing it. And one day, hopefully, I'll bring it back. But I
haven't done any gaming on this channel, but it's certainly something that I'm thinking about. So that definitely pushed me to do it. It looked like a lot of fun. I mean, people, listen. You already know what's going on here in terms of the content. We got the review coming out tomorrow after the Leicester game, probably about half an hour after the final whistle blows. Then London Clubs Carnage on Wednesday, All You Can Eat Chelsea on Thursday, and then we're kicking off towards the end of the season and you know, Aston Villa and obviously the next week there. So that's kind of what's happening here. Pretty much covered, usual schedule. You already know the weekly show times, and obviously, hopefully, we get the 3 points because we really just. Do you know what? It's not even just about top 4 now. This is about revenge. Okay. I'm sorry, Leicester, but you know, for some reason, there's something building here, and we need to sort it out, right? We need to take revenge on what happened over the weekend. There's no way we can lose or even draw with this team tomorrow and let them take the overall dub. It's just not. It's not going to work. So hopefully we get the win, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you smash the like, subscribe if you're new as well, and I'll chat to you guys in a bit. Peace.